have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you stop scrolling and hit that play button, so glad you did. And this is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina, coming at you with another episode of the Genesis Frequency, where we do indeed look at personal and professional development, look at making a radical transformation in our lives that will enable us to make quantum leaps when it comes to achieving goals, desires, aspirations, wishes, dreams, whatever you want to call them in your life. But you have to have one, right? You have to know where you want to go. You have to know what you want showing up in your life. Today, I want to touch on something came up. I've been thinking a lot about this week and really the last couple of weeks, and it's not the first time I've talked about this concept. It's out there. It's used by a lot of coaches. It's talked about in a lot of books, and it's just out there. It's the concept of be, do, have, and I think it's just gotten a little bit, I don't know, watered down and interpreted in so many different ways and thrown around by a lot of people that I want to help all of us get more clarity around what this really means. Because I think even some of the people that talk about it and write about it are maybe not in that place of clarity themselves. And I'm not really coming from a place of judgment, more so of an observation that, hey, and maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just about going deeper. After all, I'm a metaphysician and I look at the underlying nature of things and the laws of cause and effect. And so let's just look at this as going deeper into be, do, and have. You know, it's a model for accomplishment. It's a model for achievement, really. But I think so often it's easy to get a little bit confused in the very first step, in the B. See, we have to get this in order. You can't rearrange the order. It just doesn't work that way, because we can get to a place that, well, you know, I got to do, and then I'm going to have what I want. And when we're mixing in habitual thought that we call our paradigms and our programming and all that goes with that, well, it's not as easy as just do, and then it's going to show up. And I really want to talk about the B part of be, do, have. Because when we're authentically being what the objective calls for, the do and the have are going to be really dictated by what we are being. And so let's just look at be. Two words and boy, so many meanings to the word be. And you know, our friends Mr. Webster says, well, there's a whole lot of them if you Googled it and looked it up. One of them is to have an objective existence, have reality or actuality to live. An example they give is, I think, therefore I am. This objective existence. Now, objective means to have that presence in the world, a presence outside of ourselves. That's what objective is. What I want to talk about is the subjective. What are we within? there's so many facets of our personality and our persona, and we show up different and appear different to everyone that we have an interaction with in our lives. They see us one way, we think we're putting ourselves out there another way, but all that's doing, and that's perception, and that's perceiving. But what are we authentically being? See, we have to move into being what it is we want to have fill our objective experiences. Now, I was having a conversation earlier in the week, and I wanted to simplify this a little bit more, so I used an example. I used an example of love. If we try to do love because we want to have love, that's the objective in our lives. Well, yeah, we have to be love, but we have to be what love is. So think about that for a moment. Now, this was thrown out there, and it caused an immediate reaction rather than a response. But I don't think we spend enough time on what that really means to be what that is. I got a reaction that said, "Hey, I put out a lot of love. I was putting it out. I was putting it out. I was putting it out, and I definitely didn't. I didn't have that. I didn't necessarily get it back. Well, the moment that we move to that stage of putting it out, we're doing something. We're moving from what we are being to doing, with maybe not checking in with ourselves and saying, hey, I am actually being this. Because then if we're judging the objective response, then we're moving into a position of being judgmental. And that's not what we want to do when we're looking at what we're being subjectively. So let's just focus on that for a moment. If I want to, let's continue with my example. If I truly want to be an expression of love, call it source love, divine love, sacred love, holy love, pure, unadulterated, just love, the pure, loving, caring essence of what love is. I have to spend some time looking within myself and finding that. Now, in my personal belief system, I believe that is our essence, my essence, your essence, and everyone's essence. So it's already in there because I believe that's what we're made of. So in this example, I have to spend some time in the quiet if I'm not looking at myself as being what love is. So I have to be this. I have to feel it. See, that's what we're doing. I have to believe in the fact that I am love. Am is another version of be. So I am love. I have to affirm it. I have to move into it. I have to feel it. This is establishing the frequency. That's what this show is about, the Genesis frequency, right? The beginning, Genesis, the beginning. So I have to clear everything away in consciousness. This is a conscious state. Remember, we're moving from the objective to the subjective. To have that to claim it subjectively. This is what I am. I am love. Anything that appears in my consciousness or objectively that is unlike love or appears to be unlike love, I brush it aside. So see, if I move out and say, well, I'm putting it out there now, I am this, and I'm putting it out there, well, I've jumped to doing in the expectation of getting a response objectively from either another person, a place, or a thing. And I skipped part of this whole concept. I have to authentically be what love is. And being what love is authentically, and being what absolute love is, means to be that without judgment. So it doesn't matter. I can say I'm putting it out there and I'm not getting a response. It's none of my business what somebody else is doing. I have no control over their thoughts, their words, their actions. I just have to authentically be. And maybe what the ego wants is a specific response. Now we're talking about attachment, and we have to get to a place of detachment. We have to remain unattached to the objective. And so let's move out of love, okay? So even when we're talking about goal achievement and making quantum leaps, we have to participate. We want to have a high level of participation, but we want to be detached from the specific outcome. So in the love case, it's the same thing. If we're claiming that, hey, I put it out there, but I'm not getting it back, well, then we move into the position of being a victim. We're being judgmental, and we're perhaps doing things in an inefficient way rather than simply being what we intend to be. So when we fully move into it, when we move into a conscious state of being what it is we want to experience in the objective, the doing will fall into place because we're not going to move into doing with an attachment to how someone else must react to us or must respond to us, must see what we are being. Because let's face it, not everyone's going to see that because they're at a different place in consciousness. We can go way, way back to ancient writings that say, those with eyes will see, those with ears will hear. So to say I'm putting something out there and this person doesn't see that, doesn't react to it, doesn't respond to it, well, okay. It is what it is. Not everyone's going to see what you have intentionally made the decision to be, to become. And this is so important. So, I used love as an example, but we can move through different qualities of character, both tangible and intangible, and take a look at that. Let's use an example. How about of weight loss? I have to be in consciousness, in my conscious state, in my emotional state, my conscious state, subjectively, I have to claim and be the ideal weight that is a desired objective. I have to be that. I already am that, right? It's in there. I may have to carve away some of the excess that doesn't belong, but I am that. I have to identify by being the ideal weight that is my objective. I am that. I am that now. That's why the words I am are so powerful and so important. What are you claiming with the words I am? That's where so much of this begins. I am. I am what? Are you claiming all the time, I am so big, or I am so what you don't want? And it doesn't have to do with weight. But using this for an example, we can say, yeah, I am that. I am that person. I want to be that ideal weight. So I am being that all the time in consciousness. I am believing in it. I believe it's in there. I feel it. And I'm going to live from it. And then when you move into this and become that in consciousness and remain there, you have to be diligent because we get bombarded with 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day and so much information and so much coming in from the objective world that we have to, we have to walk past that mirror. We have to walk past all this input. We have to do the work that's necessary to identify the paradigms and the programming that takes us back to believing we're something else. We're talking about quantum leap goal achievement here. Moving into a desired objective reality. We have to do the inner work. When we do the inner work, when we spend the time on it and get this right, the doing will fall into place because we're authentically being what we have claimed for ourselves. And what we want to have, the objective, is going to show up. We can't mix this up. We can't do it in a different order and expect the same outcome. So it's really important to take a little dive and do your own discernment, to spend some time writing about it, thinking about your life. Where do I want to go? What do I want to realize in my field of experience? And so many people don't know this. They really don't. It's like, well, I want to be wealthy. I want to have a lot of money. Okay, but well, that's just going to make you more of what you already are. Maybe, maybe not. It might bring some. Maybe you don't know what you already are, and it might bring more of what you don't want out. So you really have to, that's just a rough example, but you have to really examine in consciousness, what are you claiming to be? And from that place, decide what you want to experience more of in your life, in the objective world. And maybe the goal is not something in the objective world. Maybe it can be intangibly how you want to show up in the objective world. Maybe you want to be less judgmental. Maybe you want to be less argumentative. Maybe you want to have an experience of less anger that shows up in the objective world. It doesn't matter whether it's tangible or intangible. It matters what you decide to be, and then claiming it, and then spending the time in your conscious state being that, claiming it, owning it. That's what you're going to be. The do will dictate yourself. You don't have to go and put it out there. When you show up being the authentically being that you are, the doing will be dictated and the having will show up. It might not come from what you're attached to, going back to the love, I'm putting it out there and it's not showing up. I wanted this person to do that and they didn't respond like that. Well, that's what you were attached to, but it came from somewhere else. I guarantee it did. Maybe not from where you were expecting. It's just like any of our hopes, dreams, wishes, and desires. I want this in my life, and when we're not looking, it showed up in a different way. Grace is at work. It moves in under grace, through grace in perfect ways, and it's a greater version, a way greater version of the picture we held in our imagination. So this is really powerful stuff. Don't get the order mixed up. Remember, order is heaven's first law, the universe's first law. Order. Be, do, have. Spend the time on being. What are you being? What are you claiming? What do you want to be? How do you want to show up in the world outside? You got to claim it subjectively. You got to be that. And you can. You just have to decide to. It comes down to choice. I'd love to help you more with this, help you move through this, because when you get this, wow, you can be, do, and have it all. I say that all the time, don't I? And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do that, because I say it all the time. You can be, do, and have it all. But let's not get so caught up in the have and the doing that we forget the most important part, the being. That's establishing the frequency. This is the genesis of what we want to create in our lives. Be. I am. You get to fill in the blanks. Let me help you with this. Reach out. Let's talk about it. Go to successappointment.com. That gets you right to my calendar. No fluff, no website. You can get right on the calendar. Successappointment.com, all one word. It'll show up in your time zone. So just pick a time. We'll have a little conversation about where you are, what's keeping you stuck, and where you want to be. So we can do that. If you want a little more information on all the things I do as far as consulting and writing and keynote speaking, featured presentation speaking, workshops, programs, consulting, all that, go to successocean.com. And hey, if you want to go a step further, so many people I talk to want to build some wealth for themselves, want to have a greater income than they have experienced, or maybe they even want to take their current income and make it a monthly income, at least have the potential to be able to do that. Well, you can do that too. I have a vehicle that can get you there. More about that at successocean.biz. But still, you have to pop in your information so we can have a conversation about what you want to achieve in your life. But stepping into the wonderful world of being an entrepreneur in this field of personal and professional development can be very, very rewarding. So let's talk about that too. Hey, I'm out of time for today. We will continue to interject more of this concept of be, do, and have so we get it right as we move forward. So stay tuned. Every Thursday these come out like clockwork, and I look forward to the next show coming up real soon. For now, this is Dr. Stephen J. Kosmina. You've been listening to the Genesis Frequency, and I wish for you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.